Hello Internet, I'm the Disney Brain, and a topic that keeps springing up around our fandom, whether forcibly or otherwise, is the true legacy of one Tommy Oliver, or Dr. Oliver, if you prefer. A topic that, for several reasons, necessitates a discussion about the man behind the suit as well. Also, yes, I am fully aware of the whole is Power Rangers dead situation that MMPR Toys brought to the light, so I'll address that near the end of this video. But before all that, let's take a closer look at the man who stands as the face of our franchise. So, most of us know how it all began. 17 episodes into Season 1 of Mighty Morphin, we get a major shakeup in the form of an evil Green Ranger. Not only did it give Rangers their first real shot at a serialized story, where 22 minutes wasn't nearly enough time to wrap everything up in a neat little bow, but it was also a solid story at that, especially by the standards the first 16 episodes had set. That spark eventually grew into a flame that turned Tommy into the most popular Power Ranger, due at least in small part to his all kinds of epic Godzilla-inspired Zord that I really do need to get my hands on at some point, but I digress. The point is, this massive appeal spilled over into Season 2, eventually creating a situation where making Tommy the leader made the most sense. People loved him anyways, so, on top of giving him a suit from an unadapted season to help him stand out, might as well make him the shot caller too. And to be frank, pun intended, this I think worked better than if it would have been Rocky taking the reins. So, Tommy ended up being the guy for pretty much all 3 seasons, including being the focal point of the first movie. Zeo happened, and then he finally got to wear the red, as well as star in the second Ranger movie leading into Turbo. Then, he wanted out, so in comes TJ and the rest is history. Or, so we thought. Until he came back in what turned out to be his best role yet in Dino Thunder, a role where his cool and confident presence served as a great counter to the brasher and less mature starting outlooks of his young Ranger team. The only things I took issue with are points I've mentioned in previous videos. Firstly, they missed a major chance to have Tommy offer to take at least some of the blame for what's been happening, especially since he created what's been happening. Would have been a great chance to show that the Ranger legend isn't perfect and never will be, and it simply makes no sense to present him as somehow getting over that reality in mere seconds, especially given his past. The second thing being that they never gave Tommy's teaching job enough of the spotlight. That's both minor and more personal, but we got to see a lot of the ins and outs of Cassidy's desired profession, so why not Dr. O? The easy answer to why Tommy became the guy for the franchise can be a simple one. He's appeared in more episodes and in more suits than anyone else, including this much more recent one. But I think Dino Thunder truly cemented his legacy on that front. Since Dino Thunder is by every measure the only good example of an anniversary season, it forever tied him to the history he was already a sizable part of. He wasn't just the most popular Ranger of the 90s anymore. He was ready and willing to lead a new team, and lead them well, to help preserve the legacy of power that had been going for 12 years strong by that point. And then, the season itself was a pretty great one, so things worked out well on all fronts, except for the days JDF couldn't be on set. All of this speaks to a mostly positive legacy for the face of the franchise, so then, what about this generally agreeable character is so divisive? Here's where I believe the problem with Tommy Oliver stems from. He doesn't have enough actual problems. That harks back to my points against him during Dino Thunder, but it's also just as true for the rest of his Ranger days. Even the well-made Green with Evil ends fairly simply. Tommy isn't under control anymore, and easily joins the others with little to no introspection needed. Maybe it wasn't just a spell. Maybe part of him wanted to prove himself, especially to Jason. Maybe Rita was just a catalyst for desires manifested from his unknown parentage since he is adopted. Addressing any of these very important questions would have gone a long way, but it's always a little too easy for Tommy Boy. Even when he advanced from Green Ranger to White Ranger, and in turn became the leader, there wasn't much of an adjustment period. That's a bit more reasonable since he knows everyone present already, but then again, so did RJ and Casey. And yet, when that team's leadership felt a little less certain, they made sure to address it and resolve it. But this also speaks to the Mighty Morphin Rangers never having enough well-developed internal issues that need elongated resolutions over the course of their run. At the end of the day, Tommy as a character is an interesting one, but only because there's so much untapped potential there, which seems crazy given his veteran status, but in all his years, he's gone through maybe 1.5 real arcs. He knows all about the legacy of power, But putting aside Boom Comics for a bit, we hardly know anything about him, including why he chose paleontology over Formula 1 or whatever his career goal was in Turbo. There's a world of stories regarding who Tommy is and what Tommy's done that just never get explored. His entire essence is this sizable mystery, except it doesn't really function on a story level because he's not Andros, for whom mystique is properly built into his characterization, and over the course of In Space, we learn exactly why that's the case. For these reasons and more, some avid fans see the praise for Tommy as overbearing, in large part because, yes, there have been better Rangers, which leads into my next point. The overt focus on Tommy, including in the most recent anniversary episode, is often at the expense of other Rangers and their stories. Boom Comics handles this focus a lot better than in most of Tommy's TV appearances, but even they sometimes fall into the trap of focusing on him too much, something that is really emphasized when you realize that Soul of the Dragon would probably have been a lot better if Sky actually got to do something in it. Tommy Oliver is overrated, but he deserves to be. And I'd be lying to you all if I said that I didn't contribute to this by rating him very highly myself. I strongly believe that Ziggy is the greatest Green Ranger to ever don a not spandex suit. But the truth is, he's just not as intertwined with the franchise as Jason David Frank is. JDF as a person wears his Ranger heritage like a badge of honor in ways few of his cohorts can claim. I'd say he can get a little too caught up in talking about the good old days as a subtle jab towards other better seasons, but even still, he's always here, he's always present, always thinking about the fans, and going the extra mile for us, quite literally in some cases. And that visibility counts for a lot in a franchise that, in general, isn't very visible today. As far as JDF the person goes, the idea that he'll always be there to help push the franchise forward is my favorite thing about him, bar none. He doesn't, strictly speaking, have to use his notoriety for the benefit of us and our fandom, but he always does, sometimes at his own expense. Yeah, he probably gets paid very well for his time and services too, but the bigger picture is this: we'd be much, much worse off without him. What we need is more people like Jason, and more recently, Sierra Hanna, who are willing to give back to a franchise and a fandom that gave them so much. Now, granted, it may seem odd that my points in support of Tommy deserving to be highly rated mainly go back to JDF, but in this particular case, I think it's fitting. In large part by his own doing, it's nearly impossible to truly separate the two from a fan's perspective. For good or for ill, Tommy and JDF are bound by the hip, and whether you love him, hate him, or are tired of hearing about him, I do believe we need him. Because his presence, and more than anything, his dedication to his role, have and will continue to help us grow. That's the biggest reason Tommy is in so many specials. And then, once Hasbro leads the Ranger Renaissance, God willing, we can all admit that despite his over-branding, he's been pushing us forward during the best and worst of times, and in some very unique ways as well. Power Rangers is not a dead brand. We've been hurting for something to believe in for years now, yes, but we're trending in the right direction. And early signs point to Beast Morphers not being the same old song and dance that nearly doomed the franchise back when Turbo happened. Because when it's all said and done, Hasbro only succeeds if it convinces more people than just us to care about Power Rangers. It won't be easy, and it won't be done tomorrow, but it's doable. And when it happens, please guys, please do not make me make a video about how our growing fandom suddenly turned into a toxic waste dump a la Star Wars and Rick and Morty. Maybe you stopped watching it Zeo, or kept going. Maybe you favor the newborn king over my personal Superman. Doesn't matter. Your perspective is your perspective, and as functional human beings, we can engage in proper discourse on the topic without being dicks about it. We really can't afford to be picky about who the so-called real fans are. Otherwise, potential fans will never, ever, ever want to clear such arbitrary hurdles anyways. But, with all that said, we'll see how much of the hype we can buy into once Beast Morphers premieres. Eventually. Any day now. And, just to give you all a rundown of the viewer competition that's still ongoing, here's the last section from my Lightspeed Rescue review to break down the rules and prizes. Finally, viewer competition time. I spent a long time primarily thinking up what the end result and the prizes would look like, but it's finally arrived. and all you have to do to enter is to read and share your thoughts on my now completed first Chronic Storm story on Wattpad. You might need to create an account to comment, but that process is really easy, and I'd prefer to keep all the entries in one place just to make it simpler to sort through. Some of you guys have been following while I was uploading, so don't worry. I have read your comments, and if you want to take part, then you're already in. I know what you must be thinking. How will I judge, and what do you win? Well, the winning part is more fun, so let's go over that first. The first place winner will get the chance to collaborate with me on an upcoming video. And we're talking the full package too. We'll be running through scripts, talking up a storm, sharing our thoughts and perspectives, proofreading like a mother effer, and maybe even sharing some recording duties. Basically, all the fun stuff that edit-heavy content creators like me go through every week. But here's the thing, guys. There won't be just one winner. Oh, no. Because all the runner-ups I choose, including the first place winner, will be invited to take part in a podcast that I'm looking to set up through Discord. So if any of you were ever dying to talk to me live, I can finally grant your very peculiar wish. I don't yet know how many runner-ups there will be, nor do I know much about Discord yet, but I'll keep you all posted on Twitter. Ideally, I can include everyone who takes the time to craft an awesome review. But wait, there's more. A community voting prize. So, the way voting works on Wattpad is that you can vote on every single chapter, and that helps with analytical such and such, which helps more people see my work, which would be amazing, because writing really is one of my biggest passions, and I'd love to write for a larger audience. But of course, I'd never ask for such a thing without a fitting prize. Here's the deal, guys. If this first story gets over 1,000 votes total on Wattpad, then I will finally review Power Rangers Hyperforce. A lot of you have been asking for several months now, and I'm willing to deliver. And realistically, it wouldn't take a super huge number of you to get it over the top, since one person can at most vote 18 times. And if we reach some other higher goal, who knows, maybe we can start going even further beyond in the realm of tokusatsu. And finally, judging. Honestly guys, it's me. And most of you are pretty keen on the things that really sway me. But for the uninitiated among you, here's a small tip that is not meant as an innuendo. I like the longer, more thought-provoking comments. Also important, guys, do not be afraid of criticizing things. As much as I love it when people love what I do or write, thoughtful criticism will also be highly revered once it comes time to judge responses. And don't worry about speed here. This contest will last for like a month at least, so you guys got time. Link to the story in the description below, and I'll post a short summary of the competition details in the comments as well. Happy reading to all of those participating, and until then, thanks for watching.